Welcome to the Dying Breed. I'm Caleb, and today we're working on a navicular horse. You can see that these feet are way too long. This horse is 3-4 weeks overdue, and we're going to see if we can't get her feet looking better today. So these are actually shoes that I put on. This is going to be a reset video, so we're going to take these off, heat them up, and burn them back on, and reset the shoes. I've had a lot of comments about how do horses get off cycle like this. Sometimes there's emergencies, people cancel. I believe this was a cancellation. Not all my clients are great about staying on a schedule, and I have very little control over that. I can only show up when I'm allowed to show up, so I can give the client a date, but sometimes it's up to them to say, okay, I'll take that date. Most of my clients are great. They understand that I work 6 days a week. In the summer, I'm working 6:30 in the morning to 5:30 at night. And then some days I'm even later. So they understand that my time's pretty limited and they're pretty flexible. So if they reschedule, they make a really big effort to get their horses back on the books. This doesn't happen every time. This is one of those cases where the horse went way longer than she should have. You can see a little bruising right there in the sole. I did a couple of short videos. They're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and I had a couple of comments on them where people were like, does this horse have Cushing's, founder? Like, why is there bruising in the sole? This horse is 6 years old. She's pretty young, so Cushing's kind of rules out. Cushing's is usually in older horses. She doesn't have any of the other symptoms of Cushing's, doesn't have any of the symptoms of founder. She had pads on the shoe, so it's not like she was going out and walking on rocks and bruised her foot. I think the main reason that she has bruising right there in the sole is because her toes are too long, and she went too long between appointments. Now you're going to see that I'm not trimming a ton off the bottom of this foot. There's a couple reasons for this. One, this foot doesn't have a lot of depth. It has a lot of length, but not a lot of depth. What's the difference between depth and length? Depth is what we're taking from the bottom. Depth is how much foot we trim off. Length is what we take from the dorsal hoof wall, or the top of the foot. Now, the second reason, I know that I'm going to burn a hot shoe on here. I could burn 1/8 of an inch, depending on the foot. And I want to leave some hoof there so that I have some foot to burn. I don't want to get it so short that now I can't burn the foot because I'm afraid of going too short. So I want to, in the back of my mind, I know I'm going to burn a shoe on, so I leave a little extra foot, so when I burn the shoe on, I have the right length. Now right here is what I was talking about. I am gathering the foot up, and I am getting the same width for the hoof wall all the way around the foot. I'm looking at the white line, and I'm looking at the hoof wall, and I'm looking at where the hoof wall is wider than it is everywhere else. And I'm gathering the distortion up and getting the same width of hoof wall. And then when I go to the top, when I put it forward on the peg, I can see that mark from the bottom and rasp to it. So I won't thin the hoof wall too much, making it weak, and I won't leave hoof wall that I should have taken, encouraging distortion. I'll get rid of that distortion. So this shoe has a rocker toe modification. It's actually one of the modifications we're required to do for the AFA's CF test. We take the shoe, we heat it up, and we lay the toe of the shoe just in front of the front two nail holes up against the edge of the anvil with the heels and the rest of the shoe off the anvil, and we bend the toe up towards the hoof. And we put it at whatever angle that horse needs. Some are a little more extreme, some are not as extreme. What this does is it sets the breakover back for the horse. It sets the breakover back and still supports the hoof capsule, so we don't have to cheat the toe. You can almost smell this video. Okay, we got a good burn all the way around. Shoe set, so I flip the shoe up, kind of look and see where that burn is. And then I'm going to relieve sole pressure right here. The rocker toe mod is probably the second most common mod that I use from my CF board. First mods being clips, toe clips and quarter clips. When you burn the shoe on, it develops this little burr, and that's why I'm rasping the edges like that, is getting rid of that little burr right on the edge of the hoof wall. I'm just trying to get rid of as much thrush and as much dead hoof wall as I can, because we're going to put pads back over the top, so I don't want any of that creating a problem over our next 6-week cycle. The other good thing about burning a shoe on is that it actually kills thrush. It kills all the bacteria and bad stuff in the bottom of the hoof, and it seals the hoof capsule. I've noticed since I started hot shoeing about 2 years ago, the hoof health in almost every horse that I've been doing has improved since I started hot shoeing. This is Life Data hoof clay. It's actually, I really love it as a product. It's medicated, it kills thrush and keeps the hoof healthy, especially if you're covering that foot with a pad. It just keeps the hoof so much healthier over the 6-week period. I like that you can kind of paste it in there and it'll actually stick and stay in place where you put it. I'm not going to put any dental impression underneath the pad or any pour-in epoxy under the pad either. I used to do that with navicular, and I have since had better luck just putting a pad over the top and leaving a gap there and reducing the ground force coming up through the bottom of the hoof. I'm not looking to really support the bottom of the hoof. I'm just looking to remove the impact of the ground coming up through the bottom of that foot and causing soreness in the navicular area. And I've had really good luck with doing this. There's a research study by Mark Caldwell, who is way smarter and can explain in greater detail all the ins and outs and why it works that way. You'll see me pull nails like that. That nail wasn't bad. The nail was low, and I wanted that nail to come a little bit higher. Now you'll notice the nails in the back that I pull here, and they're just short. All I use those for is to hold the pad in place while I'm nailing it on. Get that nail bent over before it sticks me. We'll finish up the foot here. I used to ring all my nails off, so ringing off is where you take the hammer, claw, stick what's left of the nail in, twist it, and it breaks that sharp portion of the nail off. But I started cutting my nails probably 2 years ago, and I think I can make more consistent clinches, better looking clinches, by doing it this way, by cutting the nail. Just a little bit of toe. I set the shoe back, I mean, just a skosh, not very much. That's what I really like about the rocker toe is I'm still supporting the front of the hoof, but I'm getting the leverage off the front of the hoof as well. Get all the sharp edges off those clinches. I've had multiple comments on my hands, why they're all torn up, how I have the scars. I have that big scar on my left wrist. I have a bunch of burn marks there as well. The burns are from slag coming off the shoes. I just bang up my hands pretty bad. And people ask, why don't you wear gloves? I haven't found a pair of gloves that I can feel the fit of the shoe, feel the hoof effectively. Most of the farriers out there don't wear gloves because of that. We can't feel the foot. Being a farrier, a lot of it is feel. You'll watch me, I'll feel the nails, I'll feel the fit of the shoe, I'll feel the hoof wall. And with gloves on, I can't do that. The other thing I found is even like using thin gloves, trying to reach into a hot forge with gloves on, it actually makes it hotter. Unless you wear something like a welding glove, which you lose all dexterity then. So gloves just really aren't an option, and unfortunately, I haven't been able to find a pair of gloves that work. You'll also notice I'm taped. I had a bad case of tendonitis at this point. Doing way better now, but it was really bothering me at that point, and so I was taping my wrist. It's just the life of a farrier. That's all it is. It's just, we're going to have bumps, bruises, scrapes, cuts, and there's not a thing we can do about it. You'll see that same bruising right there in the front of the foot. Same deal, we're not taking a ton off the bottom, but we're going to bring those heels back. Those heels have folded forward really, really bad. You can see all that black thrush right there in the bars, right in the frog, commissures, center sulcus. This foot smelled so bad. I don't think people can imagine. Like, I really can't smell it anymore. So if I can smell it on it when I'm working on a horse, I know it's bad. This is why it's so important to have your horses on a schedule. I can't stress that enough. Have your horses on a schedule. Have your farrier out on a consistent timeline. It's so much better for your horses. Getting rid of a little bit more distortion. You can see that there's a lot of toe out there in front. You can see how much I'm rasping to bring that, get the same thickness all the way around. Now I'm rasping in the rocker toe on the shoe, and so that I don't have to burn as much.
Okay.
It's actually very difficult to fit a rocker toe. Now you can see I'm rasping to that mark. I'm rasping to the mark that I made on the bottom, and that's how I know not to thin the hoof wall too much and make it weak, and not leave hoof wall there that's going to create distortion and flare, or is distortion and flare and will continue to make it more distorted and more flared. The rasp has two sides. The rasp has a hard, like a harder side that takes off a lot, coarse side, and then it has a finished side. Use the finish side to get that nice shiny finish, and the coarse side to remove a lot of hoof wall. Now you'll notice I'm not really getting up into the top third of that foot. That's because the distortion is starting about the bottom 2/3. Get rid of the burr. Sorry, I didn't get the burn on this foot, and on the other foot I didn't get swinging it forward and addressing the flare. Sometimes I forget to push play on the video. I'm just trying to get those commissures as clean as I can. Now I'm running my knife straight up. I don't want to make the frog shorter. I just want to get the commissure opened up and the center sulcus opened up. Right there, I'm relieving pressure on the corns. You do not want pressure on the corns. The corns are a little piece of sole right between the hoof wall and the bar. You do not want pressure there. It can create a problem. It can create kind of like a blood blister if it has pressure from the shoe or the pad. Gonna get my clay pasted in there. It's so sticky, it doesn't come off your fingers very well. But it does keep the hoof so much healthier. Get just a little bit more in that commissure. Then we're going to nail up. So when we're driving nails, we are pitching the nail to the same angle as the hoof wall. This ensures that the nail goes high and that we don't hit live tissue, that we stay in the hoof wall. Pitch it too much, you hit live tissue. Pitch it too not enough, it comes out too low. The other thing that we can do with our nails, you'll see here, I pick which nail I'm going to drive next. If I drive a nail on this side, I can push the shoe over just a little bit. So like driving this nail, if I want it to, if I position the nail right, I can push that shoe to the medial side a little bit, to the inside. And I'm looking at it right there. Right there is an example of where I'm feeling my fit. I'm feeling the hoof wall and the shoe. And I'm going to drive this nail here and drive it back a little bit towards the other way. Then I'm going to drive this nail. That's why I'm alternating back and forth, is to keep the shoe in the same place. So I don't, if I drove all the nails on one side, I might shove the shoe over 1 millimeter or 2 millimeters, and then it wouldn't be the fit I wanted. Bend my nails over, and now we're going to finish the foot. You can see that that foot is significantly shorter, and we didn't trim a lot off the bottom, but we took a lot of hoof wall off the top and got rid of all that distortion. When I'm doing my clinches, I want my clinches all to be little squares. I don't want long rectangle clinches. I don't want them sitting out away from the hoof wall. I want them kind of flush with the hoof wall. If they're sitting out and they're big knobby clinches, if the horse does something in the pasture, they're running, they can cut themselves. Everything we do, yes, there's some aesthetics and We want things to look nice, but there's actually purpose behind what we're doing. You'll see I feel each clinch after I get done with it to make sure that it's not sitting out too far, right? And then I come back with my rasp and I take any sharpness off of them. But you don't want big, long, wonky clinches. You just want nice little square clinches. Put a little sanding block to it just to make it look nice. You can see we've got a Badger built hat with a magnet on it. We're going to have some of those in our Shopify store, the Dying Breed on Shopify. You can stick nails, flashlights, bolts. They're super strong magnet and they'll hold just about anything. They're super handy. And the only last thing I'd like to say is that these hoof stands make your job so much easier as a farrier. Definitely one of the best investments I've ever made. Last but not least, we have a new podcast coming out with Dave Rustabaki. He's been a large animal vet for over 50 years. It's going to be super great. And that should about do it for today. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe. Let us know what you think in the comments, and we'll catch you next time.